everybody, and welcome to the DenziBlitz. I'm your host, Mike, from Electric City Sentai DenziCaster, and it is part 6, or I guess, given the show, we're talking about part 6 of Tokusou Sentai Dekaranger, the show that inspired Power Rangers SPD here in the U.S. Today, we are looking from episode 29 through episode 34. So this is part 6 of what I think, if I did my math right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was something like 9 or 10 part look at Dekaranger. Now, as we've said many times, and this is the first time that I've actually recorded an episode of DenziBlitz for Dekaranger since our original run on Facebook. And truth be told, it's actually the first Dekaranger I've watched since then. We've watched a whole lot of other stuff here on the show, and we've had other projects to work on. But Dekaranger, as you've heard over the last few weeks, although now with better video quality, has always held a special place in my heart, because Dekaranger is the very first Super Sentai show I watched beginning to end. And it was very interesting going back and looking at this. And I talked about it on Periscope, which, by the way, we do have a Periscope account. Check us out. We're at ECS Podcasts on Periscopes, just like our Twitter handle. How interesting some of the adaptation was from the original Dekaranger to Power Rangers SPD, and how surprisingly well some of this stuff actually holds up, not just from an effects standpoint or music standpoint, but from a story standpoint. So we'll take a quick look here. Now we have to jump back just a wee bit. Episode 28, which was in our last episode here on the Blitz, was an episode called Alienizer Returns, and there basically were several Alienizers they had previously beaten came back, which forces Tetsu, Dekabreak, to track down Genio, which is an Alienizer currently imprisoned that murdered his parents and has been all over the galaxy imprisoning people. And he basically has to go to Genio to figure out who in the world is potentially behind this. At the end of that episode, Genio escapes. Genio, who I believe in Power Rangers SPD was called Miratrix, basically has the ability to travel through reflection. So basically, if there's any light and any reflective surface, he has a way out. So we pick up here with episode 29, Mirror Revenger, where Genio has broken out. Earth's Dekarangers are being abducted one by one, and Tetsu has to figure out how to take him down before it's too late, or else he will, quote, suffer a fate worse than death. This is really an episode that focuses on Tetsu. The idea of Tetsu's parents dying and that being the chief motivation for why. There's a bit of a storm outside, so if you see the lights flicker, that's why. But this whole idea is an interesting one. But it's not one that they really hit on. It's not really a focus of the series as a whole. It's much more, I think, really just something to throw out there as a plot for a two-parter, which is kind of unfortunate, because in SPD, the death of Sky's father, who is the SPD Blue Ranger, the death of Sky's father, who had been a Red Ranger, who Sky idolizes, is a driving motivational force of the character from episode 1. And this two-parter in SPD serves as the basically the conclusion of his journey and coming to grips with his father's passing. Not so much here. It's a really good episode, and it showcases Tetsu. It showcases his inexperience as a line officer, so to speak, and it showcases his emotions and whatnot. But realistically, that's about it. And it showcases his ingenuity and his determination. So good on you for that one, but and good on it for being a really good focus episode on Tetsu. But beyond that, really, there's not a whole heck of a lot to the episode. I hate to say. When I was sitting there watching, I was like, yeah, this is really cool for Tetsu's character, but I wish there was more to it, if that makes sense. The next episode is called Gal Hazard. That's episode 30, where and basically we're going to wind up with a couple of filler episodes here, and this is one of them. Gal Hazard basically has an alien named Gal show up on Earth. She has stolen what she thinks is a gem that is a precious mineral, something that she can sell, and her boyfriend can be happy for the rest of their lives. Not so much. It turns out that she has stolen a tracker for a missile that destroys a planet, and the missile that is now headed towards Earth. The big thing to get out of this is pretty much the first time that our Rangers come face to face with Agent Abrera, as he being the manipulating force behind the scenes. Dekaranger is somewhat unique in that there's not really a central villain for most of the series. Abrera doesn't have this overarching plot to rule the world. He doesn't want to take over the universe. Nothing of that nature. Abrera is a criminal, and his criminal enterprise is supplying other criminals. So he's all about just making money. And when the Dekarangers seem to become an obstacle to that, then Agent Abrera becomes a force in the series, and he begins to take an active role because they're cutting into his profits. So the story is what it is. The only real storyline import to this episode, to episode 30, realistically is the first initial look between Abrera and the Dekarangers. Episode 31 is called Princess Training. Not only is this a bit of a filler episode, it's maybe even a little bit of a budget saver, because the plot device in this episode is that there is a princess who is going to have to go through a series of trials that are customary on her alien world before she can take her place in the royal family. But she just really doesn't want to do them. So these trials, which have to take place on Earth, as it turns out, is a wonderful happenstance because Umiko, Deka Pink, looks just like the princess. They're played by the same actress. So you wind up with the princess fabricating an assassination plot that she basically talks into existence. She doesn't think there's one. She doesn't know there's one. It's just a really good excuse. And the Dekarangers are so do-goodery in this episode that they kind of outsmart themselves. They talk themselves into protecting her from an assassination plot, the princess that is. And Umiko basically swaps places with her. And they're getting played by the princess, who really just wants someone else to do these trials, not her. So there you have it. But it turns out, in the end, there actually is an assassination plot. It's a fun story, but it's nothing necessarily groundbreaking or anything like that. It's nothing plot important. You could probably skip the episode if you really wanted to. I'm probably going to wind up going back and rewatching the first half of this series at some point, so that, much like I did with Zyuranger, I can put together an essentials guide to Dekaranger that we can get up for people to see on our Facebook page. And I understand there was been some trouble getting to the Zyuranger one here lately. I'm going to look into that and see if I can't get that fixed before this episode. By the time you see this, that guide should actually be up and functioning again. So that was episode 31, Princess Training. You could afford to skip it if you really wanted to. Episodes 32 and 33, though, and 34 kind of spills over. This is something to see. And these are some of my favorite episodes of Dekaranger. Episode 32 is called Discipline March, where Agent Abrera basically sells a prototype armor called Monster Gear to a pair of alienizer mobsters. Um, 32 actually starts off with what feels like you've missed an entire episode, because it basically starts off at the end of the story with the heroes winning and saving the day. However, enter Abrera with this monster gear. They're able to basically overpower the Dekarangers, and to the point that the Dekarangers, nothing they have will work. They cannot actually stop this pair of mobsters equipped with the monster gear. So, with only Deca Master, Kruger, and Deca Break, Tetsu, left behind to defend Earth, the Core 5 Dekaranger flee to a far-off planet in order to go through boot camp, for all intent and purpose, and obtain SWAT mode, which is their upgrade form. For one, I was really impressed that it was 32 episodes in before they actually got a power-up. That's something we don't get too much of these days. You don't have the long waits between toys coming out anymore. And I really kind of wish we did, because that would be, to me, so much better than just rush it all out. Yes, it serves the merchandising masters who want those sweet, sweet ducats, but it also serves the story in not overloading things. The SWAT armor, the SWAT mode costumes, I've always liked the looks of. They're very fun. They have a very police vibe to them, much like the rest of the Dekaranger costumes, so good on you for that one. The whole quest to get the armor, which moves into episode 33, which is called SWAT Mode On. Basically, it is a journey for Ban. Ban, up to this point, Asuka Banban, Deca Red, has always, I think, kind of seen himself up to this point as the best. He's number one, says so on his costume. And in this, we really get that out of him. That's all he wants to be. He wants to be the number one policeman in all the universe. And here, he realizes that it's not about being the number one policeman, it's about being the number one team. And that it is a team effort, and that no one officer could do it all alone. I really like that story. Bunter, who is the drill sergeant for SPD, supposed to be something of a chimpanzee, monkey, gorilla, ape type alien. Interesting thought process, interesting look. They pulled it off better in Power Rangers, I'm afraid. But still, it's really cool, because there's a similar part in Power Rangers SPD where they go to get the SWAT mode powers. So I really enjoyed these two episodes. The training on the alien planet, them going through boot camp, them eventually being granted these powers, and then the debut of the SWAT mode powers. Well, absolutely tremendous. I don't think you can really afford to miss these two episodes. And one thing about the episodes, too, that's a rarity in Super Sentai is there's little to no mecha footage. Memory recalls there's a little bit at the very beginning of episode 32. There's a little bit at the beginning of Discipline March. There is no mecha footage at all in SWAT Mode On. It's all about showcasing the SWAT Mode powers. And they kind of trickle this out to you. So, outstanding. I love these two episodes. That brings us to episode 34, which is Celeb Game. And really, Celeb Game is the epilogue to the SWAT two-parter. In Celeb Game, there are three Kaijuki, the giant mecha, enemy giant mecha in the series, rampaging throughout. And eventually, Sen, Deca Green, finds three rich, powerful aliens that are vacationing on Earth. They are the typical entitled rich brats. They're almost set up as big game hunters, hunting the defenseless, the weak animals. In this case, a feline alien child who discovers something that, frankly, might get it in danger and could get it killed. Finds the bait, basically, that these celebs use to track down and hunt their target. It's a really interesting episode. It serves so it's sort of a focus on Senchan, but it's, to me, the episode where it's the epilogue to the SWAT episodes is it's also the debut of the new mecha, the Pat Wingers. So these are the airborne jet mecha for the SWAT mode Dekarangers, which more or less means it's going to become kind of the primary mecha for the rest of the series. In typical fashion, if I'm recalling correctly, once you see the mecha upgrade, they're going to use the new one and almost abandon the old one unless they really need it. But this also makes the third standalone warrior mecha, if you don't count Deca Base Robo. For the team, there's Dekaranger Robo, Deca Bike Robo, Super Dekaranger Robo when they merge with Deca Bike, and but now there's also basically the SWAT mode mecha, whose name escapes. I think it's Deca Wing Robo, if I recall correctly. And I'm actually going to double check myself here in a second. But yeah, it's a very cool. Well, Wikipedia, you have failed me once again. It's a very cool little two-parter, or three-parter if you include this. Sort of wrap up to it with Celeb Game. It's a cool story. It's a bit of an emotional story. You can see why Senchan wants to take these three guys down. So I really enjoyed this too. It served as a good epilogue. Is it a filler episode? Possibly, but it gives us Dekawing Robo. So since it serves as Dekawing Robo's introduction to the series, then I would consider it to be somewhat essential. I think you would have to watch this one. So, having looked at all of that, that means, and I'm double checking some stuff. So yeah, we've got 3 episodes left after this one. This is our 9-part look. Next week, we're going to be taking a look at episodes 35 through 40. So that means we're going to be checking out Unsolved Case, Mother Universe, Hard-Boiled License, Cycling Bomb, Requiem World, and Gold Badge Education. That's our next 6 episodes of Dekaranger that we're going to check out. So folks, thank you so very much. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you're enjoying our look through Tokusou Sentai Dekaranger here on the ECS network. You can check us out on Facebook too. Let us know what you think of this. You can jump over there and start some conversations and join some conversations. It's facebook.com/DenziCaster. We're on Periscope and Twitter at ECS Podcast. We're on Instagram at ECS Network. And check us out on our Cafe Press store. Help us out here at the channel. Our next big project, we have a laptop now that I use for editing and for other uses while we are doing things, in this case actually using it for information as we record. But we also need a lighting rig. That's the next big thing on our agenda, is to get some lights that will help make these videos look a little bit better. So jump over there, cafepress.com/ECS Network. There's some really cool t-shirts, not just for DenziCaster, but all the great shows here on the ECS Network. And last but not least, our next show that we're going to cover here on the DenziBlitz is Space Sheriff Gavin. But what in the world do we watch after that? Well, let us know, pretty please. We would love some input. I'm thinking that we need to actually do something from Power Rangers, perhaps. I've recently managed to pick up, over the period of a few months, for my own collection, all of the Power Rangers Shout Factory releases that are out so far, as well as the bulk of the Lionsgate releases that are out. So So we actually have at our disposal now everything for Power Rangers from Mighty Morphin Season 1 through Mystic Force as we are recording this episode. And then we've got, I think, from Samurai through Dino Supercharge. So a little bit of everything at this point. And we've also got some new Super Sentai stuff up here too. The 5th box set. Don't fall. The 5th box set, Car Ranger, out now on Amazon and your favorite purveyor of DVDs and Blu-rays. Go pick that up. Mega Ranger comes out in August. So I'm thinking something Power Rangers like is coming to the DenziBlitz next. So let me know if you've got a favorite season that you'd like me to take a look at, or conversely, if you have a season that you hate and you just want to torture me. Tell me that too. And we'll take a look at it here on the DenziBlitz. I think something from Power Rangers is going to come next. I just don't know what season yet. Please no Samurai. Pretty please. If you ask, I'll do it. But I'm just saying, I've heard horrible things about that season. I haven't watched it. Got it. Haven't seen it yet. So folks, until next time, next week when we continue our trek through Tokusou Sentai Dekaranger here on the DenziBlitz, I'm Mike. We'll see you around.